I have bipolar disorder. Maybe you also do. Little do you guys know what has happened in the recording and the making of this video. I tried to record audio last time and it didn't really work out the way that I wanted to. The biggest problem was that I couldn't just get the mic to work. I don't know. The gain was too low. Who knows what was going on, but I hated it. And with that being said, it's time to get a little bit more comfortable. Next section. So obviously now we are hitting video number 2, and what we're going to get into in this video is actually the topic of bipolar disorder. There's a lot of topics that I want to go through with this. It's not just going to be a simple thing of like, oh my god, this is my journey, this is my story, and da 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 da. It's more of my principles and philosophies of how I look at tackling it and how I look at like kind of coming to terms with having the disorder, because this isn't something that can just be simply just brushed under the rug. You can't just run away from this. This is real life. So that's just how I look at it. So now I'm going to kind of go into the content of the video. So we're going to have the overview happening right now. What I need to do right now for you is for you to relax while I get my book and go over the overheads. If there's one thing they don't teach you in bipolar school, is that sometimes having journals is a good thing. However, having 1, 2, 3, 4 journals, the other one is missing, is a little bit overkill, and sometimes it's hard to keep track of it. But that's why you have journals that break down into certain things. We got journal number 1, my orange one, my orange lady. This one is for when I put down my real thoughts, the real demons that's been laying dormant inside me. And that also just writes stuff onto the page and what kind of I want, what have I noticed from the week, what am I feeling. It's a bit more of a introspection more than anything than that. Then we got my baby, the black horse, my black swan. So litty, so cash money. Shout out to Bad Butt. So this one is where it's more of my planning and stuff, but it's not my day planning, it's more my life planning. As a person with bipolar disorder, sometimes I find a lot of chaos in my life and how I choose to move and do things. Because before, what I would do is that I would kind of just wing it. I didn't really have a way that how I wanted to approach things. It would just be off with the gusto, and that's not really worth it. So I don't think that's worth it. I think planning, writing stuff down always helps. So now I've spoken for like 2 minutes and I haven't even gotten to the topics at hand. So we've got the appendix here. So now we're going to go look in it. Whoopsie, that's the wrong page. That's the wrong page. We're going to go through bipolar disorder. We're going to go through manic episodes, depressive episodes, and post of those episodes, and how I choose to move forward with my life in terms of dealing with the disorder. So now we're going to get into section 1 now. We're just going to get into the nitty-gritty, the basics. We can take off the mask. I'm okay to be who I am because it is hot. Sometimes you need to be put into uncomfortable situations to know exactly what's going on in your own head. So now, we're talking about bipolar disorder. I've been diagnosed for, feels like forever. I think when I was like 21. When I was 21. And it was a bit of a journey to come to a point of acceptance. And I think that's the most important thing, is that acceptance is key. Acceptance numero uno when it comes to bipolar disorder. So as many people have heard, that bipolar disorder is like a mood disorder where you get really high highs and really low lows. But then you get obviously 2 different types, which kind of dictates how the highs and how the lows go. So with type 1, you can have it where you go high for really long, really high, and you crash and burn really bad. And then you can get Number two, you can go hypomanic and you're like this all day, every day. And it's a crazy roller coaster, which is what I have been diagnosed with. It's been a fun journey. It's been a lot of learning, a lot of terminology that I actually don't even really use, but it's more of just understanding myself. You can know all the terms and stuff, but it's more about knowing what's going on in your head and figuring that out. So now that's the basic gist of bipolar disorder. So now we're going to go into my own experience of bipolar disorder. Let's go into section number 3. So my experience has been a tough journey, tough parts of acceptance, denial, and acceptance and denial sometimes. And then late with imposter syndrome. When I first got diagnosed, I really didn't understand. But at least it gave me a point of that, okay, cool, maybe that's why I've been feeling like that since I was a kid. Maybe that's why I felt like that, because like sometimes bipolar can be like set in you already from a young age, but it can be also triggered by a traumatic event. I had a hectic traumatic event happen, and I think that's what kicked my shit into gear. I already had issues with like depression and all that other delicious hot button words. But yeah, so when I got diagnosed, it was really hard. It was really tough. But you have to come through it. Otherwise, you have no choice, because either you sit in it and you just flip and crash and burn, as I've said before, or you try and move forward. And that's the toughest part that I've had to kind of deal with, is that it's sometimes been easier to cope with having it and just like not really taking care of it, rather just deal with the episodes as they come and they go, do whatever you need to do to kind of get them going and get them through and get them past. But what I've realized is that it's been a lot harder being healthier at it, because I know kind of the steps of what to do and the kind of the signs when I'm kind of on the decline or on the up. And that's been a tough part, which I really haven't really I don't sometimes enjoy, because it's like I really can see sometimes what's going on. Maybe there's a chance that I do catch myself before it gets too bad, and sometimes I can't. Then I kind of just see myself deteriorate in front of my eyes. That's why sometimes it's easier and it's better for you to kind of put stuff down in a journal, which I have like some of the journal pages that I cut out from an old one that I don't use anymore. And it helps you kind of just really understand what's going on and try and make sense of it, because when you're going through it, nothing makes sense. Nothing at all makes sense. So I kind of want to go through a few other things, like with first, I think I'll start with a depressive episode. I think that's going to be a bit easier because I've had more experiences with that than manic episodes itself. I've gone hypomanic once or twice, but not to a degree of like the last manic episode that I did have. So now we're gonna go into the depressive episodes. if there's anything that I can kind of explain, or the easiest way to give a glimpse of how it is to be like fully in it, is that if you go to gym, right, and you overexert yourself at gym or whatever you're doing, and the next day your body feels so heavy, you don't want to do anything, and you're just sleepy. Like you just don't want anything else, and you're not really hungry. You're not really anything. You're just there, and you're just tired. That's what I would explain going through a depressive episode is. It's very tough. It's like being sleepy all day long, and nothing satiates you. You listen to music doesn't sound the same, doesn't taste as good. Food doesn't taste as good. The same thing is like that. Nothing kind of gets through to you. It's like there's an invisible wall that's put right in front of you, and you're just kind of stuck there. And you can kind of see through the glass. It's a bit opaque because you're like trying to see like, oh fuck, like nothing really is enjoyable right now. Like nothing is fun. And it flipping sucks. And it really flipping sucks when you kind of realize it and you're trying to find something that's like, that will kind of ground you or just pull you out of it a bit. And you're kind of stuck there. And sometimes it can get to really low lows where I've had it that not just was I depressed and feeling like tired and stuff, but like I felt crippling anxiety, like to my core. If I could explain it like this, that I would almost feel like a sense of pain or like stretching that goes across my chest here, and it hits so deep. Like it's not even like across the top of my skin and stuff. Like it's to the core of my being, within my soul and stuff. That's where the kind of depths of despair that can come up, and where it can kind of get to a point where sometimes you may question things, and it can take you into a really bad spot. But all I can say is that if anyone's in that kind of situation right now, all I can say is just try your best. Just do your best. Try figure out what works for you. Try anything. Just try anything. That's pretty much it with that. I could keep going on about how the depression is, but I think I want to kind of keep it more concise and kind of give up my feelings on things and everything. So now we are going into mania. Mania, oh, my sweet friend that causes so much pain and so much devastation. I think going through a manic episode for me, in my opinion, feels so much more destructive than it is going through a depressive episode. You go through bouts of like paranoia, you have like delusions, you kind of like just dissociate all the time. You just kind of have a really big break in reality. I remember when I was like super manic and stuff like that, and I got lost in the mall and I was so overwhelmed. Everything was so overstimulating. Like everything was just too much. Having people there, it was just too crazy. And I went through payday weekend, which made everything worse. I couldn't remember where I parked my car. My memory was so low, and it was such a mess. Like I think with one thing that I'm gonna have to give big ups to journaling is like really writing down how I feel and understanding my body, because sometimes you can really do see those warning signs. For me, I was listening to music on the way to the shops, and I remember I was listening to the tracks and like they sounded so weird. They didn't sound the same. It didn't sound good. It sounded distorted, like my ears weren't working. It was like such a scary sensation. I didn't understand what it all meant. And I kind of just ignored it, and I thought I'll be okay, get to the mall, and I'm a mess. Until now you go to your meetings with your psychologist and psychiatrist, and with dealing with bipolar disorder and stuff like that, it feels like it's all molds into the same thing. Like the tough days and the good days, all the same. Like you get so used to being depressed or being a mess all the time that you can think that is normal until you actually speak to someone and they're like, okay, this is worse than what your usual thing is, bro. Like, so we gotta get that checked out. We gotta do something right there about that. So yeah, until like you speak to a professional or you speak to someone that's close to you and they realize that, okay, dude, you're not okay, then sometimes I can help you kind of come back to reality and kind of realize that you don't need to be sick all the time, like being sick all the time is like not healthy. So it's not even a thing of not need to be, but being sick all the time isn't good. And it's very tough. It's very, very tough. So we're going to go into my closing thoughts. This video came out way, I want to say way worse than what I thought. It came out far from what I wanted, what I expected and everything. But it's one of those situations that it is what it is. You know what I mean? I've been delaying this video for how long, and I just been letting life kind of get in the way that I waffle, and I just been avoiding it. So with having bipolar disorder, it's just kind of finding the best way to live your life. That's what it is. Shit is not going anywhere. It's here to stay until the end of my days. So I might as well make the best of it and try and understand it the best way I can, and try to live the most stable and peaceful life that I can. And that's all I want for me and anyone else that has to deal with this disorder and has been diagnosed with it. So all I can say is that take care of yourself. Always try your best. Always try your best. Always try something new with it. Use the creativity of mania to figure out what's the best ways and solutions and plans for you to move forward and to get through it. Because it can get tough. It can get lonely. It can get overwhelming. It's very hard to explain to someone what the color blue looks like if they never seen anything before. So that's what I'm gonna say in this video. My next video, I think I'm gonna try to keep it a little bit more high up. Today was tough. I don't know. Today was really tough, but I needed to put it out there. Maybe it'll help someone that's going through the same thing. You won't know exactly what it is, but you'll know. You'll know.